This podcast is brought to you by our partisans, Shelby Von Trapp and Bobby 𝘧𝘪𝘢𝘯𝘓. If you want to find out how to join up with 𝑠aw's Rebels, or if you want access to our bonus episodes, head over to patreon.com/andorkspod.
Hey everybody, welcome to Andorks, the podcast where every week we analyze and scrutinize the Star Wars series Andor, 7 minutes at a time. I'm 𝘧𝘪𝘢𝘓𝘓𝘓.
And I'm Rustine 𝘧𝘪𝘢𝑔𝑡𝑒𝑠t.
And we have friends everywhere. And today we are joined by our friend, television critic, Sean T. Collins. Hi Sean, thanks for coming.
Hey my guy, hey, thanks for... I'm tripping over my words already, but thanks so much for having me. I'm just so excited to be here. That's probably what it is.
Yes, we'll count it to that. We always like to start our episodes talking about, like, what's your relationship with Star Wars? How did you find Andor? You know, what sort of brought you to the show and what makes you excited to talk about it?
Well, I am a 48-year-old man, so my relationship with Star Wars goes back to literally before I was born. My parents saw Star Wars while I was in the womb, so it goes back... goes way, way back. So, I mean, I've known Star Wars for as literally as long as I can remember, I think.
You got baby Einsteined with Star Wars.
More or less.
Just hearing the score.
Yes. It was one of the things that we had taped on our VCR off, I think, CBS. There was, like, my dad, like, paused it during the commercial breaks and everything to get rid of those. And then Mark Hamill did a whole thing about the effects and the creatures and stuff at the end. He was in a tuxedo. I remember that really well. So I grew up, and I had tons of toys, and I loved Star Wars. It just was one of my favorite things, and kind of remained so, even though it sort of really, it's hard to convey how completely it just disappeared from the cultural conversation for around 10, 15 years. But, my whole childhood, after I was just very little until college, when they did the special editions, there just was Star Wars was just complete nerd loser shit. Like, I remember when Clerks came out, the Kevin Smith movie, and Dante and Randall have the conversation about the contractors who were working, and the construction guys who were working on the Death Star. I was like, holy shit, adults talking about Star Wars. I had literally never heard that before in my life. Never, not even, like, maybe my parents or uncles or someone talking to each other about us liking Star Wars is the closest I'd ever come, which sounds ridiculous now. I'm on a podcast about a Star Wars television show.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was stunned, like jaw hanging open that adults were talking about Star Wars. But I still loved it. I have a Rebel Alliance insignia tattoo that I got
very nice.
Almost immediately as I turned 18. Because I figured, like, your mom can't be angry about a Star Wars tattoo. It's Star Wars. It's for nerds. So, so...
I say this is somebody who hosts a Star Wars podcast, but maybe when adults started talking about Star Wars is when society started really going downhill. I feel like there is a...
Yeah, it is...
Correlation doesn't equal causation.
That's
sure,
true, yeah.
Sure. That's true. That's very true. That's how I'm choosing to look at it, I guess. So
people don't love stealing silver cars. There just happens to be a lot of silver cars.
Right. So when the prequels came out, I enjoyed the prequels. I think I've probably liked them more over time than I did at the time.
Sure.
I've kind of grown to appreciate them in a weird way. I think falling completely in love with the film Speed Racer made, like, really, really kind of burnished the look of the prequels, because there's really not very many other films that look like those movies.
Totally.
And then the Disney stuff, I remember, like, so clearly, like, I went to opening night for the Force Awakens, and I left thinking, like, that was fun. Something's missing, and I didn't like the final act. It was just very messy with the space combat, but it was fun. Yeah, sure, I enjoyed it. And I went to see The Last Jedi, and I was like, I did not like that at all. That fucking sucked. it just made the universe feel so small, and everyone's like doing kamikaze attacks. It's really bizarre. And then, and then The Rise of Skywalker was just actual garbage. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in a theater. And then Rogue One I really, really liked, and Solo I thought was fun. Mm-hmm. And over time, there's like my interest, like you could chart it, just like a downward slope in Star Wars as time has gone on with Disney. But I still occasionally would get hired to cover some of the shows, and Andor was one of them. Mandalorian wasn't, and Book of Boba Fett wasn't. But I've done Andor and Asuka and The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. And obviously the best of those by a country mile is Andor. So that's, the real reason I watched Andor is because I was paid to. I don't really think I would have sought it out otherwise.
I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Listener, if you give us more money on our Patreon, we too can be just paid to watch Andor. Yes.
Yes.
It's nice. I'm not
Patreon.com/AndorksPod. It's 5 credits a month. You get 2 bonus episodes every arc, plus early access to all our episodes. So sign up.
It's very nice work if you can get it. I'm not complaining. But I liked Rogue One, so I was cautiously optimistic, I suppose. I really don't go into any show thinking it's going to suck. I try, even if I do kind of intellectually think this is going to suck, I promise when I sit down and I press play, I'm the only thought in my mind is like, well, I hope this is good. Because otherwise, what are you doing, kind of? I tell people I'm in the liking things business. But, it still had kind of a little bit of a hurdle to clear for me because I just wasn't as interested in the setting anymore.
One must imagine Sisyphus happy as he one must imagine Sisyphus happy as he turns on the TV.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yes,
that's the spirit of it. Yeah, but it starts in a brothel, and then he kills 2 cops, and I was like, okay, we're making a. Do you remember the line in Boogie Nights? Ricky Jay says it to Burt Reynolds. They're filming the first Dirk Diggler movie. And they're really impressed by it as it's going on. And he goes, "It's a real film, Jack." And I think of that all the time sometimes when the show really surprises me, when I think it's just going to be some sort of tie-in. And I'm being like, oh, we're at a brothel and we're killing cops. It's a real show. It's a real show. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would say to everybody when they would ask me about it or when I was eventually proselytizing for it, is it's not good on the Mandalorian scale. It's good on the Mad Men scale. It's a real television show. It's not a toy commercial for kids,
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's my Star Wars saga.
I love it. And I loved how Speed Racer has influenced your love of the prequels, because I feel like Speed Racer is like the dream George Lucas had when he was making the prequels. The idea of shooting in an entirely digital world that is beyond what is capable with real human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just watched THX for the podcast, and seeing how avant-garde the editing of that film is compared to what we see in Star Wars. You can kind of see that love of montage in Speed Racer too.
For sure. Yeah, and I just don't think Lucas is ultimately as accomplished a sort of visual. That's really selling him short. That's not quite what I mean. But clearly there's not this sort of sense of unbelievable motion that you get in Speed Racer or even in The Matrix, that you get from the Wachowski sisters. And also, I just get the sense that they are, more facile with actors or just interested in actors at all. Seems to be kind of their deal, really. And that comes through even in Speed Racer when it's, presumably a lot of green screen and a lot of stuff that's, was probably difficult for the actors to do. But the performances are so charming, which is, even as a prequel person, I really wouldn't say that many of the performances in the prequels are charming, Christina Ricci in Speed Racer is charming. Hayden Christensen has his selling points. I wouldn't say charming is one of them.
I mean, it's that clip of them. There's those audition clips of the other kid actor who's fantastic. I'm forgetting their name, but watch that clip. We're like, oh, that kid's great. And then George is like, he's not right.
You mean for like Jake Lloyd?
Yeah.
For, like young Anakin? Yeah, because I remember watching the documentary and they talked about how the other kid was like very well prepared and really like felt like a real actor to them, but there was something about Jake Lloyd that like felt natural to them, and it does feel like you can get that natural performance maybe like one day, but getting it consistently every day on set, and especially when you're being directed by George Lucas, is probably a little bit harder to get consistently for the poor guy.
Kind of get thrown into the deep end there as a child actor with George Lucas,
yeah.
I'd say.
If even Harrison Ford struggles under your direction, I don't think any child actor is really going to fare much better, unfortunately.
Yeah, well. Oh, well. I guess so. I won't say the performances are charming. They do have their charms, which I feel like is a separate, different, distinct thing. Like you kind of get used to the oddness of it in a way that I think kind of builds power to where the end. I think it's just a straightforward good movie. By the end of Revenge of the Sith, like I think the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin is just good, with really no qualifications. So it took it a while to get there, I suppose. But yeah, no, I dig that stuff. I don't mean to be like sound apologetic for it. I really like those movies. But.
Well, speaking of, charismatic characters, we do have a question around here. In honor of the late, great WTF with Mark Maron, who are your 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰?
All right, so I knew this was coming, and a guy immediately came to mind, and it's a guy named 𝘂𝘂𝘂. And 𝘂𝘂𝘂 has, first of all, his name is great. It's 𝘂𝘂𝘂, like he's Duran Duran. And he's like a kind of, he was also known as Banana Slug, I think, or something like that because he looks kind of like an unripe banana, or like a fucked up cobra that got his face smashed in, kind of, and then was held up by whoever smashed the face in, like, this will happen to you. And and he was
looks like roadkill.
Yeah. And he was a headhunter, which I thought was extremely cool when I was little. One of the coolest jobs available, along with like ninja and pirate and paleontologist, was headhunter. That would be a really cool thing to do, is chop off people's heads and then carry them around on a stick, which he does. And then he was a cool toy because he's so oddly shaped, just like this weird, like rectangular creature with a kind of a diamond-shaped head and these long limbs.
It kind of looks like he's wearing a hat.
Yes.
Like he's wearing his own hat. Yes.
Yeah, and he looks kind of like Littleface from the Warren Beatty Dick Tracy, where he's got the tiny face and then he's got like this huge, massive head stuff, And
absolutely,
and just in general, I think as a sort of representative entity from Jabba's palace, that is something that fired my imagination when I was a kid about Star Wars, like basically nothing else Jabba's palace did. Because I was a real scaredy cat about horror movies, but I loved monsters. I couldn't get enough of them. Like, I loved the old Universal monsters, Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman and so on. I loved monsters from Greek mythology and Norse mythology. I loved cryptozoology, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot. And, what's Jabba's palace? It's like a whole building. All that's in it is monsters. And Lando Calrissian. That's it. Like, what more could you ask for, really? It's just wall-to-wall, literally at one point, wall-to-wall monsters. And the Rancor's down there, and Jabba's so cool, and the Sarlacc pit is out there somewhere. And it was just, for someone with my specific, interest as, a little guy, boy, did I love Jabba's palace. And my 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 honestly could be anybody from that whole place, but I went with a man.
I mean, there's a reason that movie was the most popular movie among all the kids, I feel like.
Yeah.
That was definitely the movie I rewatched the most as a kid.
Me too. Me too.
Alex, I have a pop quiz for you. Do you recognize 𝘂𝘂𝘂 from anything?
I mean, I was about to say that we could just talk about Mandalorian and Grogu.
Exactly. Okay. I wanted to see if you connected the dots.
I was going to say, no, they're the exact... If we want to talk about 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 as as a force for good or force for evil, I feel like they are a real 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 in the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Literally.
Wait, a Man comes back in the Mandalorian and Grogu?
Wait, you haven't seen?
No, this. I'm glad you brought this up.
I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
No, I don't care because I'm not going to see it. But this illustrates my point. There's a Star Wars movie in theaters right now. I am never going to watch. I'm not going to fucking watch the thing. It's a star. Like, that's kind of crushing, really. That shows you how poor the stewardship, I think, of the setting of the franchise has been under Disney. Like, I don't know
specifically a Man. I think it's a different one, right?
The Amani are in. Okay. The Amani are there, and so they are like the Hutt's enslaved enforcers. And so there's a whole sequence of Mando fighting off waves of Amani.
See,
which is a real 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 come to life moment.
But I'm going to object to this. I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, given that I just shouted out a Man so strongly.
But you're specifically him.
Yeah, well, yeah, because here's the thing. There was that long period, like I said, that drought of Star Wars, and then books started coming out, and among them were these Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales from the Cantina, short story collections, where an idea that had literally never occurred to me in my life was that you could take each one of these characters and write a little story about them, and I was like, oh my god, what a fun, this is so much fun! They sat on my bookshelf, they were like very super, super fun. And then, but that was when that was just like a side dish.
Yeah.
Now it seems like every 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 has his day. And I think that's bad. Because you're not, they don't really sustain the mere fact that you have seen this before does not sustain a narrative for me. And it was like, I used to write about superheroes all the time because I worked for a superhero comic magazine called Wizard. And it was endemic to the genre in comics. This is going back a while now. I doubt things have changed. But you get to that final page turn and like, oh my god, it's that guy. And it's like, end? Oh my gosh, Two-Face is the villain of this Batman story? Get the fuck out of here. What's your reaction supposed to be beyond that? I recognize the guy, so what? And I think this overload of 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰s.
Read issue 46 from February 1992. That's your answer. Yeah.
Yeah, it just I think it's a bad creative model. It's like a fun short story collection. It's bad to be like the basis of like the Dave Filoni verse,
Maybe Star Wars should do the little pop-up video things like they do in comics of like as first referenced in blank. And
I dig that, actually. I think that would be kind of fun.
Use the X-ray functionality like they have on like Amazon Prime or Apple TV to just like pop up little things of like, so Amon was in Jabba's palace.
But yeah, I think part of the reason we like to ask the 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 question is that like in many ways Andor is a 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰. Like it is sort of like it's a 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 of a 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰.
Right.
Like it's we want to fill in this blank of this small story, and now we're going to fill in a blank on that blank. Like a 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 is not inherently good or evil. It's the nature of what it's used for. And if it's just there to get you a pop of recognition, then it's being used for evil. But if you're actually taking a character that exists and sort of fleshing them out, that is a generative piece of art. And I think that's sort of why we like to talk about them.
Yeah, the explanation I had heard for the Amani was that I think it was Filoni, like, also loved that toy and always wanted to see these guys in action, And so now, thanks to the Mandalorian and Grogu, you can.
I'm sorry, but that's so fucking sad. Excuse my language, but like, I can't think of like. That's just to me, that's just something real depressing about being a grown ass man given charge of like this enormously well-funded, area of the arts, such as it is, and you're, it's like, well, I liked this toy, so in it goes. I don't know. There's just something like really that feels like that imagination has a real tiny aperture to me. I don't know. I'm talking a lot of shit for a movie I haven't seen, but
it'll hit great when you watch it on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like a Man because it's one of my favorite jokes ever. Is I think in John Hodgman's first book, it's like the guide of knowledge and everything, and in one section it's just failed palindromes, that are sentences that look like they should be palindromes but are not palindromes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a man feels like it should be a palindrome, but it's not.
It's not. It's very frustrating.
You're right.
Yeah.
I just thought
a
of that.
man, do 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 do.
Thank you.
A man, do 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 do.
I told my wife what my 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 is going to be, and she immediately goes, do 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 do. So, yeah.
Before we get into Andor, I do want to ask. Before we were recording, we talked a lot about Game of Thrones, which you are a prolific writer about.
Right.
And I do feel like the Game of Thrones universe has its own 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰s, and so I'm just curious if you have a 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 from the Game of Thrones, Westeros world.
Oh, absolutely. I have kind of I have an entire civilizational 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰. Okay, which is this: long before Valyria, long before the Long Night, before any of that, before the First Men, before the Children of the Forest, before the White Walkers, before any of it, there was a race of creatures from the sea, we think, we don't know, we think, that built across the world. There's now these relics of these colossal structures made of this oily black stone that no one can identify. And that's the basis of the High Tower, which is Alicent Hightower from House of the Dragon's family. Their actual tower is built on one of these weird labyrinths of black stone. There's an entire city-state that is just all, Lorath, that is all these mazes and labyrinths. There's statues of, like, frog gods, like Dagon, and like weird Lovecraftian stuff. This is all in The World of Ice and Fire, the source book.
Yeah.
I love the idea so much that before this huge apocalyptic conflict and this cycle of birth and rebirth and death and all this stuff, before all that, there was frog people. Just get used to it. Just deal with it. It's okay. To me, that's so much fun.
I'm still mad that Strong Belwas did not end up in the shows, as he was one of my favorite book characters.
Strong Belwas is a good one. Strong Belwas is a real good one. I like a person
there's a lot of shitting. I feel like it would be up HBO's alley to have a guy who's just shitting everywhere. But
they've really broken new barriers in shitting lately, HBO. There's like some real audible shitting in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, lots of visible shitting in Euphoria this season. So they've really broke the shit barrier.
When you're talking about frog people, I was just imagining Turgle from Jedi Survivor as like the Lovecraftian species.
He's got the Innsmouth look.
Game of Thrones. Yeah.
The HBO thing reminds me of this is forever. I remember just like in the early like AV Club TV days, there was some commentator who was just the HBO CEO of tits. And he would only comment when an HBO show character had... And then I'm just imagining the HBO CEO of shit also exists now.
Penis is weirdly more common now than tits. I mean, I suppose these things come and go in cycles, but like, I think in especially in the World of Ice and Fire, you're as likely to see someone hanging dong as you are boobs now.
I think that was the woke era. I think that maybe that era is coming to an end thanks to Trump, and we're going to bring
it's going to be
boobs back.
A boob-centric era again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's boobs are very accessible versus I think like the penis will force a viewer to like wake up, be like, oh, that's something. Like boobs don't faze you anymore, but like that a penis will be like, oh, what's that? Like there's still it has some juice to it, for lack of a better term.
No, I mean, there was a penis scene in The Pit this season that I was like, well, this is going to really...
Oh, I don't want to talk about that one, yeah.
Because that's a show for normies, That's not a show for penis people. It's not a penis person show, people. The Pit, And there it is.
That's the episode title right there.
I mean, I distinctly remember an episode of House where someone's penis explodes, so... Right, it was a dream sequence, but you do not know it's a dream sequence when it happens.
Okay. But you don't see the penis. That's the key.
It's even funnier. It's you see the reverse shot of the doctor going, it's getting bigger. And then the other doctor goes, is it an erection? And he goes, no, physically getting bigger. And then you just hear a pop noise.
Incredible. That's television.
I'm sure this exists. I did not hallucinate this.
You used to be able to do incredible things on network TV.
You can't blow up penises anymore because of woke.
Come on, Elon. I thought we were bringing back comedy.
Comedy was legal again.
I can't blow up a dick on Fox. What the fuck?
Okay, it was the season 2 finale of House, the episode with no reason. Okay, I'm not insane. Okay.
You want to cover that 7 minutes instead,
Yes,
Alex?
yes. Well, on that note, should we...
let's do it.
Want to talk Andor?
Yeah.
Let's talk some Andor.
And how a TV show that TV will not let happen again for a long time, in comparison to the other shows that are getting made. Previously on Andor, we had Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Edie's. Ulaf continued showing signs of distress. The Mothma family breakfast turned into a catty mess. Cyril and Dedra truly started to match each other's freak. And Mon had sat down with Tay to talk about some issues of accounting. He has somebody in mind who might be able to help their financial issues, but we didn't find out last week because of our weird timing system. But now we can finally hear who she's talking about and who Tay has in mind. Of course, it's Davos Skolden. Davos Skolden? How am I saying it right?
Davos Skolden.
Not Davos, not Game of Thrones Davos.
Not Davos, although
Yes.
I've spelled it that way every time I've ever talked about him.
Closer to the conference than the man from Game of Thrones, I would say, is this Davos.
Yeah, good pull.
Has Liam Cunningham not been in a Star Wars?
No.
Not
think so.
that I've seen.
I feel like he's there to be pulled in at any given moment. Mm-hmm. He's a good socialist. Bring him in.
I found an old Conan O'Brien clip called "Liam Cunningham wants to play old Jar Jar Binks."
Is that real?
Yeah. I guess
Get
there was
that man
a
on the
rumor
phone.
that he was going to be Obi-Wan in a future Star Wars movie, but he has another character in mind, according to a 7-year-old Team Coco YouTube clip.
Incredible. We can finally do the Andor, but for Jar Jar. I mean, we've discussed old Jar Jar. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there is.
Jar Jar is a rich tapestry.
Imagine, Liam Cunningham busking on the streets of Naboo, taking in a young orphan.
Yeah.
And contemplating suicide.
Asking if I did the Empire. Yes. Davo is a new character, right? He did not exist before Andor. Mm-hmm. As Mon explains, he's not a banker, he's a thug, the wealthiest thug of them all. Tejas now admits that he's already talked to Davo, but Mon does not want to deal with him. It'd be too pricey, both in money and risk. Tay then explains that he's interested and wants to meet with her. Tay offers that he could look for somebody else, but from Mon's face, she already knows the answer to that question, which is that they will meet.
Yeah, so thanks to the setup of our show, you are getting dropped right mid-conversation into this scene, and so would love to hear your thoughts about Mon and what she's going through in this moment.
It's a really nice point where the cutoff is, because it's right when they say Davos Skolden. And I guess what I will say about Davos Skolden is that his name is Davos Skolden. Everyone else's name sounds kind of the same. Mon Mothma, Perrin Firtha, Velsartha, Davos Skolden. Yeah. I think there's they're pointing to some sort of ethnic issue there, and that he's not part of the ruling class that the rest of them are from, obviously. And, he's an outsider, and I think there's an element of that in Mon's distaste for him. That was something I don't remember, probably my second or third time through the show. I was like, wait a minute. Everyone else is the same kind of name, a kind of, I guess, a traditional Chandrillan name. Mm-hmm. And he's not a traditional Chandrillan guy, except in he would like to become one, which is sort of, winds up being the problem for Mon.
Yeah, I never put that together, but I think you're totally right. The way she talks about him makes him sound like he's like a gangster or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I found a quote from Dan Gilroy talking about his original intention for Skolden was that he would be the owner of HoloNet News. in addition to like various banks and stuff like
Oh,
that.
that would have ruled.
He was supposed to be like Rupert Murdoch.
Right.
Yeah. Although this came up in the context of him saying that the plan for when Mon is giving her speech is that Davo would be the one in charge of shutting it down and would actually let her speech keep going. And they were told not to do that by Lucasfilm. Maybe, I don't know if that was lore masters or Disney brass not wanting to piss off Rupert Murdoch. I just thought that was interesting.
I think it was said that they thought of him as a space Epstein. So I'm glad that you went the other direction.
Yeah, I guess I kind of assumed that he was
Davos Golden, the Chandrilla financier.
Yeah. I guess in my mind he was kind of he was in that sort of the middle of the Corleone family arc, where like maybe he was from organized crime, had roots in that, but was sort of going legit. But there's so many opportunities for people to be ruthless, disgusting, vile people in the pursuit of that amount of money that he apparently has access to. So, is he a thug because of his reactionary politics, and that's why she says it? Is he a thug because he actually employs leg breakers? I like that it's kind of open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if any of our listeners are Swiss and want to tell us which stereotypes Swiss have, we can try and, because we decided the Chandrilla is probably like Switzerland.
Switzerland.
In the sense that it's just a rich place where money like a center of commerce that is fairly neutral.
Right.
So he's an evil Swissman.
Evil Swissman. I do love the part where Mon is saying, like, what are people going to think? And Tay answers that you're feeling constricted by the new tax laws. It's common enough. Like this idea that Mon is the only person who is not trying to cash in the bag on being a senator.
Right.
And that every rich person across, all of time and space is always complaining about their taxes. It was another element I loved.
It's more suspicious that she's not complaining about her taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the sense that like her lack of corruption is probably bringing more attention on her than, I understand her fear is that they're looking for something to pin on her anyway. They're clearly already actively investigating her. But, maybe if she was a little bit more run-of-the-mill corrupt, they would be like, there's probably nothing to worry about here.
Yeah, that's what Tay is almost pitching to her, that, like, no one is going to think twice about this. But we see in Genevieve's performance how much of, like, an affront this is to her.
Yeah.
I think she does such a great job of communicating Mon's morals. The idea that, like, she would never want to get in bed with somebody who's a thug like Davo. But
Or Luthen.
Or Luthen, yeah. And
Yes.
it's partially because of Luthen that she's now in this position and forced to make compromises.
She wants this to happen bloodlessly and morally, and that's just not going to happen, but she's constantly dealing with that conflict inside of herself.
That to me is one of the most compelling things about Andor, is the degree to which fighting these people is degrading to the people who do it. Which, and I don't mean to cast aspersions about all of my wonderful friends from Andor. They're wonderful people, but a lot of them are required to do terrible things. The first thing we ever see Cassian Andor do in Rogue One is kill an informant, who trusted him. So, I think that Mon in particular, though she is not ordering, executions, like Luthen does, it is a kind of slow process of attrition for her, where she is, going into business with someone that she actively dislikes and thinks is corrupt. She is, eventually we're going to see with her daughter, engaging in traditions that she had happily left behind and was hoping that her whole society had left behind. I think she's staying in her marriage for appearance's sake, very clearly. They don't really seem to like each other very much. So, what I like so much about Genevieve O'Reilly's performance is I think you hear that and you see it even when it's not being addressed, in so many words. Like, just her delivery of, like, the way she kind of spits out the word thug, like she can barely bring herself she wants to get it out of her mouth and out of her system. It's just really fine acting. You know, it conveys so much about who this person is and how hard it is for her to make herself be someone that she wouldn't be otherwise.
Yeah, and there's a direct connection from this scene all the way to her crash out dance at the beginning of season 2. Like, she is having that crash out because of the decision she's making here in this moment now that will ultimately lead to her essentially giving her daughter away for this money that she needs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the way that she's spitting that out, later on, she will tell her daughter that you don't need to go through with this. Like, and we know that means giving up the 400,000 credits that are going to keep her, you know, from getting in trouble with the ISB. But she's still willing to do that for her daughter. But, you know, it falls on deaf ears.
I'm glad you brought up the crash out dance. I remember watching the screeners and getting to that scene and just very, very concretely thinking, this is one of the best television shows ever made. Like, that was the scene that, like, made it from being like, man, I love Andor, to being like, there are almost no shows better than this ever in the history of television that I've seen. Just such a... I'm a huge sucker for scenes in which beautiful people dance to music that's being played diegetically. Just always, no matter what it is, no matter who it is. You know, I just love that kind of thing. And that whole moment and what she's going through and how... I'm getting tongue-tied again talking about it. And you're right, it begins here. It really, 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 really begins right here.
Yeah, it's her, like, 𝘧𝘪𝘢𝘯𝘢 moment in that moment. And, yeah, this is like a quiet scene. I don't think this is a scene that, you know, everybody thinks about when they think about the show. But it's scenes like this that then set up those big emotional moments later in the show. And I think speaks to just how well written this show is, that they can lay this bomb here now, and even though it's not the biggest bomb in this episode, let alone in the whole show, it ends up reverberating throughout the rest of it.
It's not a perfect one-to-one match, but Sean, your description of Mon Mothma reminded me of, it's like a spoken intro to Love Me, I'm a Liberal by Phil Ochs, off of the recording I have, where he goes, in every American community, you have varying shades of political opinion. One of the shadiest is the liberals, an outspoken group of many subjects, 10 degrees to the left of center in good times, 10 degrees to the right of center if it affects them personally. And I feel like that's where Mon is evolving from, where she does believe in these things, but then now that it's sort of going to affect her reputation, suddenly she is not okay with these methods being used.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to be like a Mon apologist.
I think she gets there eventually, but I think that's what she's dealing with internally right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No. I guess I've never thought about it before. Like, what is it? Is it her reputation? Is she worried about? Is she afraid that she's going to get busted? Like, is it some combination? I do think she's trying to keep her hands clean for as long as possible, but I don't know if that's out of practical considerations or reputational considerations, or, I mean, you know, probably a combination of both. You know, this woman is giving money to, like, you know, people who are using it to buy bombs to blow up army barracks and stuff. So, you know, she's not Hillary Clinton, but, which I've seen her compare to, you know, which, like, really kind of irritated me. I was like, are you watching the show? But, you know, I think, you know, much more so than people who have just gone over completely to the, I can't remember the exact phrase that Stephen King uses for it in The Stand, but the sort of night world of radicals. You know, she's not there yet. She's still she still has to operate, and would, I think, prefer to operate in the daylight, like you said. And I think it's hard for her to start being like, oh yeah, here's my friend Davos Scolded, and here's my, you know, backwards ass marriage that I'm having for my daughter that I'm really kind of ashamed of, and I have to eat it. Like, you see how hard it is for her.
Yeah, and if we're ready to move on from some Mon talk, as Mon grapples with her decision, the ISB offices are abuzz with the news that they have captured a rebel operative in a routine customs check. Partagas and Dedra inform Lonnie that he flashed an Imperial profile, then vanished, and was captured before he had a chance to tell anyone. They got this information thanks to Dr. Gorst, which means they know they can trust it. He started talking almost immediately.
Torture famously does not create false information at all.
Yes.
But this is magic torture. This is the one foolproof form of torture ever invented. Thank you, Dr. Gorst.
Thank you, Dr. Gorst. And, as a writer of Game of Thrones, do you have any thoughts on Partagas, who most of us, first saw as, I am blanking on his name right now, in Game of Thrones?
The Evil Maester, yeah.
The Evil Maester,
right.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his name, too? It's contagious. This is my job. I really should be good at this.
I threw you in the deep end.
Yeah, but no.
It's Anton Lesser.
Anton Lesser,
right.
Thank you. Yeah.
What's the Maester's name? What's the Evil Maester's name?
Oh, Pycelle?
Thank you. God, I'm letting down the side, man. I have a Song of Ice and Fire tattoo on the same arm that I have the Rebel Alliance insignia tattoo. So this is really shameful.
Of a frogman.
Yes. I'll tell you what it is. It is the battle cry of the Golden Company. It says beneath the gold, the bitter steel. And it's because I think it's about society, man. I think it says something about society. Beneath the gold, the bitter steel. That's why I got it. But I love Anton Lesser in this role because I think you see it in this scene, and I can't take credit for this. I got this idea from somewhere else, and I think it was just sort of passed to me like a meme. He's a great boss. He is not a dick. Mm-hmm. He is demanding but supportive. He will shut down people who are being counterproductive or sniping at other members of the team or not pulling their weight. And I think you are meant to find him not appalling like you do so many of the other Imperials. And there's a shot, I guess we'll get to it as we go through the rest of the scene, but right at the end that I think really speaks to that. But I don't want to get ahead of things. Yeah,
because what happens...
I mean, he's a terrible person politically, but he's a good hang.
Yes, yeah, he's great boss, awful man. Yeah.
He's the kind of boss that keeps you in a bad job. Like, even though what you're doing is maybe a little evil, at least he makes it. He makes you look forward to going to work, maybe.
Right. I do career days now and then. My kid's mom is a teacher, and I'll go to her middle school and do career day. And I'll tell people, for jobs, you gotta like two of the following three things: the money, the people, or the work. And, Partagas, like, anyone works for the ISB under him, like, I bet you like the people. I bet you like your boss. You're probably right. Maybe they're lowballing you. Maybe you didn't get the raise this quarter, like, that you should have gotten, Dedra. But, what a supportive boss you've got.
I say, if there were 1,000 Partagases, I think the Empire would have survived.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's a very small few I think even the Empire will not allow those people to generally grow because it often doesn't favor people who are, willing to show not kindness, but empathy and awareness and social awareness. Usually the right does not like those people.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how good he is at his job. He fucks up one thing and he gets arrested just like everybody else does. And in his enabling of Dedra ends up creating the situation that leads to the downfall of the Empire. So even his he gets treated just the same as everybody else, even though he's clearly the most competent person in the entire ISB.
I think he may be the most competent person that in the entire Empire, really. I mean, I guess you know what? You got to hand it to Emperor Palpatine. He was pretty fucking competent for a while. But yeah, compared to like the Martinets that we meet elsewhere, you know, like a Tarkin or a Krennic, like this guy seems reasonable, and you know, I mean, again, this moment that we're just talking about now, as they go through the torture results and stuff, and so much that happens in this discussion, is so monstrous. Yeah. But they talk about it like, you know, they need to get toner for the copier. And but yes. their tone is so light that you miss the monstrous of it a little bit. You know, it's there. Obviously, you're not supposed to not notice it at all. But they're not talking like it's monstrous. And you realize how easy it is to be like, oh, this is kind of exciting. I wonder what's going to happen. And they're talking about like torturing someone and then murdering him in cold blood and ditching his body. Like, it's just like, these are terrible people. But it's like got this sort of snappy workplace dynamic that disguises it a little bit. Love it.
Yeah, it's kind of like an episode of Mad Men of watching them come up with a pitch, you know? Because Partagaz catches Lonnie up on what's going on, about how they've got one of Anto Krieger's pilots in custody, and he's telling them there's a raid planned on Spellhouse, but they don't want Krieger to get spooked that his man has gone missing, but they also can't let him go. And Legret suggests they destroy the ship and make it look like an accident, but Lonnie knows that will make Krieger suspicious. And then that's when Dedra jumps in with the great idea of making it look like a mechanical accident. And they can have the pilot be found dead in the cockpit and then tow it into Kafrene. And Partagaz, being a good boss, congratulates her when she has a good idea and tells Legret and Lonnie to call a meeting to discuss Spellhouse. But it takes them a beat to realize that he's talking to them. And so...
We could just DB Cooper him. No one will know. Yeah,
that's so fucked up. Like, I just in rewatching it for, you know, like, I have very deep breath here. I have very strong Dedra Meero feelings, but putting those aside, you know, just the way she just kind of like effortlessly, like, what if we just made it look like an accident, you know, have the pilot found dead, and it's like, he's currently alive. He's alive right now. They have just decided in this little 5-minute meeting that they're having to murder a man. And
presumably, like, put him in a ship and, like, suck all the air out of it.
Right.
So he looks like he had a mechanical failure, and, you know? Heartless.
I can't imagine they're going to be particularly kind to him on the way to, like, scuttling him in his ship or whatever and leaving him for dead either. You know, they've already subjected him to the Dr. Gorst screaming alien children treatment. And,
also, to your Mad Men point, Racine, I'm like, is Blevin P. Campbell and then Dedra is Peggy? Yeah.
Yeah. She's totally Peggy.
Yeah.
Struggling under the male-dominated workforce.
Fascist Peggy. Yeah.
With an adult, older man as a mentor figure.
That's what the credits are for.
Happy to throw her in the wolves.
That's what the credits are for. Is very good. I was about to make another suitcase joke, but that was the better one. Thank you.
No problem. Oh.
That's the episode title.
But so now we're at the part that I was trying to bring up earlier. After this happens and they wrap things up, and Dedra has this idea, and he puts, you know, Lonnie on the job or whatever. They all leave, but the camera doesn't. The camera stays parked behind Partagaz's head as he kind of sits for a moment with the room after they've left. And I think shots like that are why you find it tolerable to be with this person at all. You know, like, given how serious Andor is about, you know, the practical effects of this form of government on the people and beings, I guess, who live under it. You know, it could, you know, it's Star Wars. Obviously, there's space wizards out there. But it could get extremely depressing, I think, to spend time with the space fascists. I think you need little moments that humanize them, and kind of like what I like about the camera sitting in there with Partagaz on his own is that he's not on his own. You're in there with him, right? Like that, and it kind of brings you into the circle a little bit. Everyone else has left, and you're now sharing this private moment with the guy who's in charge. Like, I think that puts you so effectively in his position, and as loathsome as you find all these people and what they're doing, you kind of can't help but identify with it a little bit. You know, I mean, this is old Carol Clover. You know, you're behind the mask of Jason as he's walking, you know, or Michael Myers or whatever, he's walking around with a knife at the beginning of Halloween. You know, you do empathize with the bad guy a little bit, and I think that's worthwhile, especially on a project like this. If we keep following,
if we kept following him, we would just see him go to the vending machine and grabbing a soda. Like, right. he's just that, yeah.
Right. He is just a guy, which, you know, for better and for worse, you know.
Yeah. And this is his space. Like, within this area, he controls the entire galaxy. Like, he says, we're going to make this look like an accident, and then 30 minutes later, that's happening on the other side of the galaxy, you know? So it's just imbuing him with so much power in this moment, and I think that shot from behind him helps to establish that like, this is his domain.
Well, he's like an Alan Dulles figure, that he's like, all of the decisions are being made in this room. He doesn't actually have to go out to fight any of these battles. He gets to decide how all of these battles are won from the comfort of his nice air-conditioned, windowless room.
Mm-hmm. Star Wars is a weird setting because you have, you know, these figures like Partagaz or Krennic or Tarkin, you know, and even really the Emperor, you know, with one notable exception, who don't do the fighting themselves. But then you also have a Darth Vader who's like a medieval battlefield commander who's out there leading the charge, you know, with his sword against people with guns. So, like, it can be like a little bit confusing to think about the kinds of people who run the Empire.
I think that's even more similar to the current fascist system of, like, you have a lot of men who are intelligentsia who think of themselves as battlers, and then they will bring out the one, like, mascot army guy who did the job and be like, this is the guy that you're all looking for. You know, it's what's the character from Inglourious Basterds where they keep bringing him around? I'm blanking. We're just like, we want to bring him around because he is the one guy who's actually fought, and he's going to validate our view,
yeah, the one, Daniel Bruhl's character, the one who winds up being the star of the movie of his own story. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, Donald Trump loves it when they bring out the central casting soldiers
right.
coming out.
Big Marines, tears in their eyes.
Yes.
Tears in their eyes. Big Sith, tears in their eyes, come up to me. They say, Emperor Palpatine, sir. Yeah. No, I personally, though, I really like how Darth Vader just does not fit in with the rest of the upper echelon of the Empire that we've met. I think that's fun. Yeah. I love thinking about what a demented snake pit, like the top level discussions must be, like what that Slack's like, or whatever they have, their signal, like, you know, because they're all different varieties of insane, but some of them can, like, fly, you know, like, or whatever they can do.
Is Darth Vader putting his quarterly, like, earnings in Paylocity that he needs to get, like, reimbursed? Like, presumably everybody else does. I think Partagaz has to go do that.
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
Tarkin's got to worry about a budget. You know, does Darth Vader have, like, in his little emo castle that he built in the place where he was maimed horribly? Like, does he, like, what's the budget for that? Like, how many guys work there? You know, a lot of questions.
What's your reimbursement rate on coaxium transportation of, you know, it's $0.88 for credits for every coaxium gallon you get. I'm very sad the coaxium has now been removed from Galaxy's Edge.
You're going to bring this up in every episode.
Yes. I didn't bring it up last time.
You did.
No, that was a text thread.
You did.
Remove this then. Remove this.
No, keep it in double.
Alex's coaxium corner.
Yeah.
It's got to be cold. But Yes, also go back to Mad Men, especially this episode, they really love the center framed back of the head shot as you pull out of here's the character interrogating the world around them, and it's the Don Draper shot. But I think it gives you the same thing of this character is more. It's a metaphor for the institutions that are in the same way we ended that Mon shot with her staring at the walls and the exits thing. These are the character's thoughts, and we're seeing what they're reflecting on by using that POV.
Yeah, and I'm realizing now we go from the shot of Partagatz to the shot of the Death Star starburst being pushed into, their rack. And so it's like we have this personification of the Empire and the weapon of the Empire being shown to us back to back.
It's like going into his head, like being John Malkovich.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lovely little sequence where you go from Mon's white room to Partagatz's white room to Cassian and Kino's white room. But they're all so different, and the people in them like have such different responsibilities and different problems, and but I don't know. That's just an extremely well-made show, fellas. I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yeah.
Yes, even though these are all like starkly white rooms, they're all white in like different ways and different hues and different contrasts and saturations. And that tells you so much about the space that we're supposed to be in.
Yes.
Like Mon's is filled, like, I don't think Mon has big lights. She's got little lights all throughout her house, whereas the ISB headquarters is just like one giant fluorescent bulb over them. And then the Narkina prison is like tiny, cheaper fluorescent bulbs strewn all throughout the space.
And it's even more visually compelling because, obviously there are huge swaths of our planet that are not developed, but there's more of our country is developed than the Empire is developed. So the fact that they live in this luxury and this, splendor and all of this technicity is in contrast to what is happening on most of these planets where they are barely above feudalism. So it's even more of a contrast than you would see even in our world.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing I think that's so exciting about the Star Wars universe, or always has been to me historically, is just the sheer variety of everything. Star Wars to me is the fictional setting that is the most like Earth, in that there's just everything. Like, there's just a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different kinds of places and a lot of different kinds of things you can do and people you can be and stuff you can eat and animals you can pet, and like it's what I like about this planet and it's what I like about Star Wars, and
no, let's go back to the same family over and over and over again.
Oh man, but be careful what you wish for, because then you could find out that then they'll go to Emperor Palpatine's family, which is their big idea for.
But then we find out they're the same thing.
I don't want Emperor Palpatine to fuck. Like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about him having a child and then having grandchildren. Like, it's too much for me. I can't.
I mean, I guess it would be Matt Smith fucking, right? That would be the implication if it was the original.
Yeah.
Wasn't that supposed to be that was young Matt Smith was
going to be young Palpatine?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did they talk about that? I don't remember.
He was cast for episode 9 in like a very prominent role, and the rumors I saw is that they changed it the last minute to just bring back the original Palpatine. Originally, he was going to be a young clone of Palpatine.
Oh,
if I remember,
he's gonna be in Starfighter, so maybe they're bringing that back. Listeners, you will find out 1 year from now when we cover Star Wars Starfighter. Everyone looks so sad when I brought that up. You guys look so sad.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'll be excited for this one. Maybe. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, in the interview, he says that his role became obsolete, and that he couldn't possibly say when the interviewer asked if he was Palpatine's son. So I think he was supposed to be a clone. of Palpatine. That's my reading of it.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, Palpatine is not here, nor his clones. Instead, we are back in the Narkina prison, where Andor returns to his table, and poor old Olaf is scratching at his head. And as Olaf suffers, Kino steps out to declare that Table 2 are the winners of this shift, and sentences Table 1 to the box for a zapping. And when the voice of God demands everyone get on program, Olaf collapses as he tries to lift his hands up, and Zal has to press him against the table to keep him upright. And Andor's comforting him that they're almost done, and as the men of Table 1 get zapped, everyone averts their eyes while across the room, Kino looks at Olaf, noticing something's wrong. And so, yeah, real depressing scene here. I'm somehow only now putting together that him pawing at his head is him literally having the stroke that's going to kill him.
I mean, he could have had, isn't that multiple strokes?
That's also a great point. You're right. He's been stroking out all day, probably.
Yeah. I mean, watching this was interesting, and this is about to get real heavy, and I'm really sorry. My dad just died of a stroke.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I'm sorry too. It's fine. So I hate them, man. It's fucking strokes. Like, it's a huge problem in my family. My dad, my grandmother, my cousin. It's you know, I kind of am glad that they wound up giving him a medical condition that I recognize, and not, you know, they didn't make up like 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰 disease. Like,
no, I had that in my notes too. I was like, it's very weird hearing the word stroke in Star Wars. Where I'm like, people in Star Wars don't have heart attacks. They don't have like cancer. They have magical disease.
Right. Yeah, they get the blood plague or the whatever. Yeah, sure. But again, you know, one of the things that Andor, the show, is so good at is making this stuff feel like something that is akin to your own experiences. And I think Olaf going out the way that he does is meant to evoke in the viewer these, you know, feelings of watching your own parents or grandparents succumb to, you know, strokes or similar illnesses, and that feeling of helplessness, you know, watching them prop him up, and try just physically just doing whatever they can, just literally just to keep him erect and just keep him going, so that he, you know, he's so close to his, you know, his exit date. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, the next scene right after this is them in the tunnel, and Kino is just doing everything he can to just get him back to the bunk, just keep him going, like he's almost out of here. And when he collapses, he finally calls for like medical attention, and he's speaking to Olaf, and he's just like, "Hang in there. You've only got a few shifts left. You're going home."
I mean, he's
like,
talking to himself as much as he's talking to Olaf.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I've talked about Olaf as like a, oh my god, I can't believe I'm just getting a brain fart now. Willy Loman, like a Willy Loman figure, and I think Kino is also turning into a Willy Loman figure of like, isn't this all worth it? I put all my hours in, don't they get the reward, and sort of falling apart at that realization that system does not exist.
I mean, I think, as we're going to see when the doctor shows up, they get information that changes the equation for Kino considerably. But I think also the death of Olaf does too, because I think Olaf is kind of like the ghost of Christmas future for Kino, and you know, even absent, you know, what we wind up finding that none of the prisoners are getting out any longer. You could still just be a good soldier and work hard and play by the rules and just drop dead. 40 days away from when you're getting out, quote unquote. And I think that is probably a really, really tough pill for Kino to swallow. I think with this character in particular, for whom they all show a lot of affection.
It's something I noticed. I'm glad, it's one of the benefits of having to go through these episodes and really write down what happens and really scrutinize it. It's like, at some point, Kino calls him 𝘂𝘓𝘢. They have like a nickname for him, which I think that's the first time you hear that, of like, these guys have history, they've had conversations, they have been friends, they have nicknames for each other that he would usually not let on. And in just calling him 𝘂𝘓𝘢 once, it fills in all of his character background in such a small, simple way.
Right.
But also, like, Kino has talked about the floor as if it's a game. He's playing like an inventory management game of keeping all the tables going so he can try to win. And in this moment, he's forced to grapple with the fact that all of these people are flesh and blood humans just like he is. And that at any moment you can collapse and die in here. That it's not a guarantee that if you hit your number, you're going to get out. We could die before we ever get there. And that's what this sequence here is communicating to Kino. That, like, it doesn't matter how close to your number you are, you could just drop dead at any moment.
Well, speaking of drop dead, should we go into the next scene? So after they remind Olaf he's got a few shift lefts, we cut to more bare feet as we see feet in a not orange prison uniform, but light blue, so we know it's from a different section. We see a doctor with a bag walk through it's a different assembly floor. That's not our usual one, right? Because they've...
No, it's the group that...
Oh, right, because they just pulled him out. They pulled him out, yes.
Mm-hmm. And just to say, I think the blue is literally just that he's a medic. Everybody else has the orange,
So it's Dr. Rossiv, played by Adrian Rollins. Going back to our conversation, I feel like he is one of those, like, Game of Thrones, Doctor Who...
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter's dad, apparently.
There's a Venn diagram online of like all of the actors who have been in all of those three franchises, and I feel like you add Star Wars, there's got to be some quadfectas. So he makes his way to the tunnel. Cassian and Kino are the only two watching over Olaf, and then Kino says, "Don't worry, 𝘂𝘓𝘢, we'll have you back to your cell soon enough." Kino then mentions he hasn't seen the good doctor in a bit. He assures Kino he hasn't gone anywhere, but the doctor has past experience with Olaf, which implies that he's had heart issues before, and they actually have sent him to the doctor, which is an interesting wrinkle that I kind of wish we could have explored more, of how when the prison decides it's worth dealing with a health issue when it's not. But he takes out a face mask, puts it on Olaf, and checks his temperature. Kino again mentioned that Olaf's only got 40 shifts left. They just need to get him out and about, but he's tough as an old rock. And it's not clear who Kino is talking to, because I think he's trying to convince himself that this is not already over. I looked it up. Rossiv takes out a ophthalmoscope to inspect Olaf's eyes and tells Olaf, "Look at me, brother." Cassian reminds him that the patient's name is Olaf, but the doctor says he doesn't want to know, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Kino repeats himself. He's just got 40 days left. Just get him on his feet. But the doctor finally tells him there's nothing to save, and Olaf has had a massive stroke. The doctor then takes out a combination of what looks like a gun and a needle and tells Kino, "I can't help him. I can't help anymore." And he continues, "He's lucky. He'll pass peacefully, which is more than I can say for the rest of us. Another week like this, and you'll be getting what he's getting."
Or begging for what he's getting.
Begging for what he's getting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a heavy scene.
Yeah, I loved how you called out the 𝘂𝘓𝘢 reference, because Kino clearly, despite being like the man in charge of the floor, has a really, strong connection to Olaf, even though, we don't get to really see it much in the scene. And throughout this whole sequence, he just keeps saying, "You've only got 40 shifts left. You've only got 40 shifts left." And when he tells that to Rossiv, he's saying it as like, if there's anyone worth going all out to save on this floor, it's Olaf. Like, he's the one who's about to get out of here. Like, is there nothing you can do to help him get out and at least let him die breathing fresh air? And Rassiv makes it clear that that's not his job here. His job is to keep the Narkina prison running and to keep the men in line. And keeping Ulaf alive does not help with that.
You could almost imagine that, like, Rassiv is like a space version of a dentist. That, like, he's close enough that when he's in the prison, like, oh, you can go on medical duty. That, like, he's probably being forced into this role that maybe he doesn't even know the full... he wouldn't even know how to help Kino if he could. He might just be in a position where he's forced into this medical role with limited training.
He could have been a space dermatologist before he got into prison. Yeah. He's in there for, embezzling from the practice or whatever. Yeah. This is another one of the scenes that I remember really, really knocking me back and making me think, this is a real thing. We're euthanizing someone on screen in a Star Wars show. His friends are holding his body down because he's going to spasm when they euthanize him. There's an actor with male pattern baldness, which you just never see on television or in movies ever anymore. Because people either, do the minoxidil or they just shave their heads, and you just don't see people grow out their hair like that. And it gives it immediately this sort of this 1977 credibility. Kudos to his hairstyle. But beyond that, he brings this, like, weary reality to the situation where, like, it's a heightened situation for Kino and Cassian. They know this guy. They care about this guy. They want to save his life. This guy does too, but this is a job for him. And it's not even a job. It's slave labor for him. So, he's kind of like a rough character, and he won't learn people's names, but he does feel empathy. He says brother, but there's something very it reminds me in the not going to remember the name of the director, Michael Radford. Sorry, the Michael Radford 1984, the film version with John Hurt. They, I think, to avoid it being just like, oh, this is anti-communist. Like, they don't say comrade like they do in the books. They say brother and sister. Which tracks with the Big Brother thing. I get it. I think it's a pretty good workaround. I understand why they did it. But that's what it reminded me of, just this sort of joyless, loveless brother with no underlying camaraderie to it at all. Just a sort of perfunctory, like, this is another person, I get it, I have to interact with them. But, like, what's the fucking point? Like, I've seen so many people die. You can just feel it in this guy. He's seen so many people die. And now that he knows for a fact how pointless it is, like, he's not going to bust his ass for this old man. Like, for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, he's nobody is having a good time in Narkina, but I feel like he's got the worst job, if not one of the worst jobs in there, of just putting people down day in and day out. Like, he's probably one of the only medics in here and just responsible for doing this, 5 times a day across all the hundreds of thousands of people in Narkina.
The question is, I assume that there's some space version of the Hippocratic Oath. That he's conflicted between, do no harm and, minimize the amount of pain that he's in. And those are
unless he was a dentist, in which case he has no Hippocratic Oath.
No, yeah.
It just likes instilling pain into people.
But it is,
No, the Hippocratic Oath exists. It's just the Hippocratic is an alien type.
Right. Right. But, having just gone through this, with my own father, like, I was just talking to his girlfriend the other day, and she was just saying, like, it's barbaric. Like, why isn't there a pill? Like, because in my father's situation, it was apparent very quickly that there would be no recovery. And at that point, you just sit around watching someone die and them just doping the person up so they can't feel it happening. And it's rotten. It's a rotten feeling, and but what they do to Ulaf, like, when you watch it happen, that feels rotten. That doesn't feel good. Like that, like, as with so much on Andor, like, you just feel like there was no. One of the reasons Andor feels so adult to me is that oftentimes there is no good option for people, And, there may be one that's preferable for whatever reason. Like, it's preferable not to just let Olaf linger in a state of, unconscious, whatever, pain, whatever. It's preferable to get the money to the rebellion than not. But to put him down, as you say, the way he's been put down, as is clear this doctor has done however many hundreds of times before, or for Mon Mothma to go into business with someone who's clearly a scumbag, like, I get why this had to be done, but, like, you can't, that's what makes it feel like a real show to me. Like, there's no easy way out for anyone.
Yeah, and a show that is like, there's the there's the good and the dark. There's the good and evil. There's the light and the dark. It's all gray. This is all just in the middle. Yeah.
And I think...
Yeah, he's doing the best he can in this situation. Like, he really does have nothing else he can do here.
And I know that, just to hear you say that, there's good and evil, there's light and dark, this is kind of a side point, and I know Andor is not about the Jedi or the Sith, really, at all. But I think, as a show, it conveys to me what it would be like to be in a society where at the top things are decided by these berserk space samurai wizards, like, fighting each other with swords. Like,
yeah.
You're caught in the middle, and, like, I kind of get it now. Like, I understand what it's like to be governed by literally insane people. Not just scumbags. People who are not in touch with reality. People who believe, who, like, worship evil. Like, I get that now. It's deranging. And I feel like the elements of that kind of seep into Andor, even though Darth Vader is never mentioned by name. A lot of these people know Mon does, Partagats does, they know he's there. That's, like, imagine going about your life with your husband and your teenage daughter, and also, if you fuck up, you might be chopped in half by Darth Vader, like, who is a person who is real, who you know. Like, to me, that's deranging. And, like, you feel like this kind of, like, it's like this soot that pervades a lot of Andor. That, like, at the top, there are these men who will not be named, but they're so nuts and so bizarre that it's, like, infected the rest of society. And it trickles all the way down to these situations where, like, we have no good options anymore.
I mean, I can easily imagine Palpatine, like, having a giant, Djarik game happening outside the Imperial Senate building, just to...
Yeah. And meanwhile, his clone son is texting with Johnny Coin saying, "Hey, is the game rigged? Should I bet on Rada the Hutt?"
But yeah, you bring up a good point, which is that, like, I think the idea that there's a light side and a dark side is a fascist ideology. Is the idea that there is good and bad, and that I think maybe that's being uncharitable to some of the other Star Wars works. But the idea that these things there's good people and there's bad people, to me, is an excuse to say, well, some people can be disposed of and some people cannot. And how you draw those lines, as opposed to the more exhausting socialist analysis of, like, people are just people, you got to deal with them as people, and you can't just put people into categories. It's exhausting work, but it's only the only morally ethical way to go.
And speaking of evil, we should finish out this scene,
because
we're gonna have a lot to talk about there.
Yeah. Yes. Cassian raises his eyebrows because he says, "You'll be begging for another leak like this. You'll be begging what he is getting." And Cassian raises his eyebrow. What does that mean? And the doctor barely answers. Cassian asks the big question: what happened on level 2? And Rossi turns to Kino and tells him, "You'll want to keep your men in line." The doctor then arranges for Cassian and Kino to hold Ulaf's limbs and keep him down. He tells them he'll feel nothing as he injects the liquid. Ulaf starts to make death rattles, struggling for air for just a moment, and then he's gone.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Ulaf. Uli.
In a universe where some people die from a laser shot that's like instant death, it's very rare to see someone actively dying. In a series that, like, tries to avoid death as, like, a thing, it's just like, oh, you got hit with the laser, you hit the off button, that person no longer has shut down. We very rarely see death happening at a micro level.
Mm-hmm. It's hard.
I guess except for Anakin as he goes.
And Padme, I guess.
Yeah. Uli died of a broken heart.
It's a hard watch, and I think.
Yeah, it's really hard.
For me, I only realized this after the fact, but I recognized him, and I couldn't figure out how or why, because he's much older now. But he's the guy in the first Tim Burton Batman movie who says, "What are you?" "I'm Batman." He's that criminal who mugs the family at the beginning and winds up on the rooftop getting his shit knocked out of his brain by Batman. So, I that's another movie that I grew up loving. I was older by then, and that it was a familiar face to me, but I couldn't place it, which is kind of the best kind of familiar face, because it just makes it feel like a person. Then that like you kind of have some investment in their fate, and
totally,
it was hard. It's hard watching that scene, I think, and then to feed it into what's coming. You've just seen death for one person, and you're about to hear that it's been multiplied by however many hundred people, and that's, I think, very smart writing.
Not to pivot too fast, but I just looked up something. I was looking up Christopher Fairbank, who's the name of the actor who plays Olaf, has a second Star Wars credit, which I did not know about. He's additional voices in the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga video game.
Hell yeah!
I have to play that now to see
awesome.
if there is Lego Olaf somewhere in the background.
Not that I can remember. Man, we played my kids and I. We played the shit out of that game. We had the complete saga. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Really, really super fun.
He's got to be like assorted Imperials throughout the game. Like you get an old British actor like that. That's the perfect place for them.
Yep.
And yeah, this is a great standout role for an older actor who has popped up across, so many movies and TV shows. I always think of him from The Fifth Element. And, poor Uli. But yeah, everyone else is going to be begging for what he's getting after what they hear here.
He's gone. Goodbye to Olaf. And then Kino, overwhelmed, asked Rossi what he meant about keeping his men in line. The doctor asks the guard for a bag and trolley, who's intentionally asking so he can get the guard out of earshot. And Rossi tells him the news. They made a mistake. A man who was just released on 4 ended up back on 2 the next day. Word got on the floor, and they killed them all. Kino's confused. If he was released then the doctor tells him, "You heard me." "No one's getting out, are they?" Cassian asks. "Not now, not after this. At least your friend is free." The guard gets Kino and Cassian back on the program and walking towards the barracks.
Yeah.
Lots of questions being repeated, and so Cassian tries again. From earlier in the episode, how many guards are there on each level? There's a beat. Never more than 12. And we pan away quickly to see Olaf's dead body on the floor and cut to black. And that's the end of episode 9. But we should talk about that a little bit before we say goodbye. But we finally revealed that it's a Ouroboros shape that you never go in and out. It's always, you're just cycling through different prisons.
I love this part. Again, another, this whole scene I remember very, very well. And this moment when he says never more than 12. I mean, you guys maybe just saw me as you read it. I threw up double metal fists, like I'm just like, hell yeah. Like, I mean, Circus, until recently, who until recently I adored, he's so good in this, and to see the power and command and authority that he has brought to his position as this lackey, suddenly shift gears and move on to this other Cassian track of like, I'm in it with you now, man. Like, he's had it, and like you can hear it in his voice and you can see it in his demeanor, and what this means for this guy who's been, so adamant about, like, you stay on program, you follow the rules, and you do what they say, and like, it's predictable. You know what's going to happen if you do this. You know what's going to happen if you do that, and eventually you get out, and it's nice and orderly. I'm going to keep it orderly for everybody. For him to finally have that moment where he's like, it goes against everything about him as a man in this prison. And he's kind of, I think, rediscovering... I mean, we don't really know anything about him before he got there. But he's it's like you feel him becoming a human being again, sort of, as opposed to like a cog in a machine.
Yeah, because the Empire's folly here is that they have so greatly expanded the scope of their arrests and their intake into Narkina that now they can't keep track of the people inside, and they think that people like Kino will never fall off program, that they've done such a good job that he will never, break with the script. And here, seeing what they do to Olaf finally breaks that spell on him.
Not to get, maybe I'm being dumb, but logically, if somebody's supposed to be released, was the mistake that he was released, that he was supposed to be released, and then there was a mistake of putting him back in? Or
I think what it is, and I've been trying to figure that out too. My understanding of what's happening is that when you get released, you get moved to a different prison. And for whatever reason, he got put back into circulation with the other, back into Narkina. Like, we see there's 3 different, like, Narkina prisons, right? Maybe there's one that's the one you start in, and then you get moved over to the second one, and then you get moved over to the third one.
I mean, this is not to be a screwmator and, like, try to find holes, but, like, wouldn't there then be problems everywhere wherever a prisoner was swapped in who thought they was going to get released would tell everybody else in that block?
You move them into the prison with all the other people who thought they were going to get released, and then it becomes a first-time situation.
Yeah.
I would assume they presumably have, like, a life sentence prison, because none of these guys have life terms. They all have concrete, finite terms. So maybe you dump them in with the lifers, or who
you put them down in the toxic mines where everybody in there is going to die,
Or you
use them as target practice.
Or solitary confinement.
Or you use them as food for the Wookiee prison, which I assume is out there. That's always been my assumption. I don't know how you guys, or if it's been discussed, but like I just figure that there's other of these prisons for the different, because you can't accommodate the different physiognomies of the different, like someone who's like a species of humanoid that's all like 7 feet tall is going to be different from one that's like mostly between 5 and 6 feet. So
Tony Gilroy has gotten into this.
Has he? Oh, that okay.
Yes, because people have been like, why are there not more aliens?
Oh, I forget. He complains about this all the time. Yeah.
And so his response is that they would build these prisons. It would be inefficient for the prisons to be modular in the sense that like a Wookiee's butt is in a different place than a human's butt, so the toilet would have to be built differently.
Right.
But then they also just released production art where there are other aliens, so I think it was a budget decision, not a. There was some production art with some Mon Calamari in that prison, so I think it was budget at the end, but it was a good rationale to explain why they're not there.
I also like it because I do think the Empire would be racist and would segregate prisoners, and I do think, and I also think it's such a marked contrast from anything Imperial is like almost all human, or no, it is literally all human. I know they brought Thrawn into Asuka, which is. Asuka is so bad that it's like I don't mean to. I'm just going to digress a little bit about Asuka. Just you can cut this. It's so bad that it feels like outsider art. Like it feels like Manos: The Hands of Fate. It feels like something that they would have watched on like Joel era Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like just some real soul sucking. Like, even with the bots cracking jokes, like, by the end of the movie, you feel like you're 5 years older than you were when it started because it's just so enervating and it is, other than Ray Stevenson, who's wonderful. I would get as high as I
also
possibly...
like the actress who was his apprentice.
She's really good, too, yeah. I mean, I like a lot of the people in the show. I don't like them on the show. It just, I would get as high as I possibly could. I had to review this thing. And I was like, I'm going to try and enjoy this I'm going to do my damnedest. And it just like, I couldn't.
They had to cast that guy because he was the voice on the cartoon.
God, he was. Oh, and it's the character's written so poorly. Like, all right, I'll stop now. I've only got 40 shifts left. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, the poor folks on level 2, and I think that probably what Rasov had to do was probably put down anyone who didn't get completely fried to death on there. So I have to imagine that's part of why he's so depressed here.
It's all. I mean, that makes sense. How else would he know? You know.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
Yeah, even in that brief moment at the beginning when Kino says like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a bit," and he's like, "Oh, trust me, I've been here." I think you can imagine that Kino has like projected like, "Oh, he's the doctor. He probably gets special benefits, and he probably always gets flavor."
Yeah,
but that's probably not the reality.
No, absolutely not. He's in the jumpsuit too.
Yep.
He's got bare feet too. They're not giving him slippers.
But I do also want to point out like he does have the very clever thing of like, I really need that like gurney for you to go get that gurney, and he's in that moment being strategic. He also has to figure out ways of like communicating things without someone getting noticed. Like even the doctor has figured out these sort of like tricks of how you get people out of the room. That like even when he walks in, he goes, "I need a gurney immediately," with the goal of trying to get the guy out of the room. It's like he's been through this before.
Well, I think the first time he calls for it is just him seeing that I'm going to have to kill this guy. Like, that's him just recognizing where this conversation is going.
I took it as that, but I also took it as...
the second time is him saying, okay, now I need you out of the room. Let me follow up on that request and get you out of here. So it's him, like, picking up, but, like, totally the same point, but just I wanted to shout that out.
Yeah.
And then Kino and Cassian knows to wait until they walked a certain distance away before he asks the question, too. Like, everybody is very aware of where they are in relationship to the guards and exactly how far they need to be in order to speak freely.
I think the whole prison situation and the setup, which they really exploit here, you know, by faking out doing the second call for, like, a body bag to get the guy to leave the room and then walking down the hall and having their conversation, then the sign language, all the different ways that we've seen them do these things. You see how canny these people have to become to stay themselves in really any way. And there's this, I've used this metaphor already with, you know, soot falling down from the top, but like in the same way, life kind of grows up in the cracks in the show. And that's really what the rebellion is ultimately about, is like exploiting these gaps in the system, the parts of the hallway where they can't hear you, you know, the ways that you can get the guard to turn his back, you know, the fact that no one's listening. And then there's only 12 guards on the floor, and there's however many of you that there are. You know, you can reach a pipe eventually. We'll get there, and you know, all these little exploits. It's right in Cassian's speech to Luthen at the beginning. How they just don't even see you. They don't expect you to do these things, and you just have to become sharp enough to figure out where those gaps are, and then you move into those gaps and you exist there as a person or as an agent of the rebellion.
Yeah, and we live in a world where we have figures who are like, if I just, you know, if I do more, I will make sure there will never be a place where anybody could whisper ever again. Like, logically, you have to be like, there's a place, if I keep pushing my fascist view of the world, I will eliminate any ability for there to be any dissent, and that is physically impossible for you to lead to that level of repression where people are not going to find some way around the system. Right. That they're not going to find the one crack in the wall to talk through.
I mean, it's a Nemec's manifesto. It's in what Princess Leia says to Tarkin, which I always think is a great, you know, the more he tightens the script, the more things will slip through his fingers. So you can kind of picture, like, he's squeezing, like, a toothpaste tube with, like, a lot of holes poked in it. And, like, you know, but nope, things are getting out, like, all over the place in ways you don't expect.
Is there space toothpaste? Have we discussed this?
There's got to be, right? Toothpaste, I can see it on Wikipedia now. Toothpaste is a dentifrice used for, you know... Was, right? Whatever apocalyptic event consumed the Star Wars galaxy prior to the writing of Wikipedia. I want to know what that is.
I don't see one for toothpaste, but
I'm finding one. I found toothbrush.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to pick you up a toothbrush to clean that stench out of your choppers. Mission vow to Zalbar.
This is all legends, though. This is not.
You're right. It is legend. So in the canon, there are no such thing as toothbrushes.
That explains a lot about a walrus face and
Oh my God! No, sorry.
Did you see what I just saw?
Is it Tusk Blaster?
No, I didn't see that. I saw first appearance in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Tusk Blaster was the name of a hygienic product developed by Gamorcare. The product was advertised towards Gamorreans to aid them in eliminating embarrassing yellow stains that could develop on their tusks. Advertisements for the Tusk Blaster ran in the Cocoa District edition of the HoloNet News in 22 BBY. So this is also Legends. But it was written by Pablo Hidalgo, so I'm going to consider it in universe.
In-universe HoloNet News Volume 531, number 46. And, we talked before, Davo Skolden, owner of HoloNet News, Davo allowed the publication and advertisement for Tusk Blasters.
I mean, the idea that there's like a subcontractor, like a sub-company that does medical hygienic products just for Gamorreans, makes the mind spin of how much commerce exists on every micro ability of, every business niche. I'm sure they're all getting consolidated by one giant company at this point, but the mind boggles of how many levels of medicine exist for different creatures.
I love that again. That's it gets back to, I remember once, oh man, I went to Disney World when I was little, and it was the first time it occurred to me that everything that gets done, someone has to do it. Because I remember seeing someone who was cleaning a bathroom at a restaurant in a section of a park of Disney World, and just in my little fourth grade brain, multiplying that out a bunch of times, and and that's the thing I like about Star Wars. It's just so big, the world is, and everything that gets done, someone does it, and I don't know. I think that's super fun. I love that someone's you know what, the Gamorreans are a growth market. Those weird bulldog looking green guys, there's money to be made there. They're raking it in from the Hutts. They got cash. They got money in their pocket.
We need a DEI agent for Gamorreans brought in immediately.
The Gamorreans are almost my 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰. I love those dudes.
They're a good one. The one who falls into the Rancor pit and claws at the walls trying to get
poor
out.
Little guy.
I didn't think the Gamorreans were intelligent enough to buy products. I thought they were more of a.
Yeah, they're like space orcs, right? They look exactly like the orcs and the goblins in the Rankin Bass Hobbit and Return of the King movies with the bulldog underbites and stuff. So I loved them when I was little for that reason. I was like, oh, so cool. Lord of the Rings orcs and Star Wars. Woo!
I just imagine a Gamorrean going to the corner store and being there's so many toothpaste forms. Which one do I want? Do I want this brand? You got sucked into an illusion of choice, brother.
It's very funny to
which brand do you have affinity for?
To imagine a Gamorrean wandering around the same convenience store as bix-𝘂𝘁, in the second season.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. Reaching past him, reaching around his large, Gamorrean body to get a Diet Coke or whatever.
Well, if you go to Space Costco, you can get Tusk Blasters at bulk.
Right,
and
yeah.
It really brings down the credit price, yeah. They've got that 1.5 credit rotor wrap that really people just love. It's only a credit and a half, and they'll never lower the price.
Forever. It's staying that way.
Unfortunately...
on Ronto wraps, I guess.
Ronto, yeah. Unfortunately, no Gamorrean guards show up in Andor, but Sean, we would love to have you back. Is there any character or sequence or episode in season 2 that you'd like to shoot your shot for?
I got one sentence for you, and it is, turn out the lights.
Yeah.
The Dedra and Cyril relationship I find completely fascinating. So, but God, I mean, the Mon dancing scene is, like I said, that's an all. Gosh, like one of my 10 favorite things I've probably ever seen on television. So, there's so much.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple requests for Mon dancing already, so that's going to be a hot commodity.
Of course.
But you can get their romance of Dedra and Cyril.
Awesome. Space Night Porter. I'm so into it.
Yeah, you mentioned having a lot of thoughts about Dedra, but we didn't get to hear them. So do you want to save them for that episode?
Probably. That's a topic for another podcast or therapy.
Okay.
One of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sean.
Space Freud has killed himself after reading about the Dedra Cyril relationship.
Yes.
It's just like an airplane when they cut back and he's just hanging from the roof. He can't. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted it.
No, I was just gonna say how much we enjoyed having you on the show, Sean. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it was a blast. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk about the show with people who know about it, who know so much about it and know it so well and get it. Really a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Where can people find you, and what do you got to play?
Okay, let's see. So, if you go to SeanTCollins.com or patreon.com/SeanTCollins, you will find everything that I write. Like I said, I'm a freelance TV critic, so I'm in the New York Times, Decider, Vulture, Welcome to Hell World, Defector, various and sundry other places. But yeah, and I'm a Blue Sky at SeanTCollins.com as well. So that's how you find me and how you keep up with everything that I do. Oh, and I have a podcast. I have a podcast too.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What am I doing? I have a podcast called the Boiled Leather Audio Hour, which is the oldest, the longest continuously running, let's say, podcast about A Song of Ice and Fire on the entire internet. And you can find out all about that at patreon.com/Boiled Leather Audio Hour.
Yes, it's boom times for the Song of Ice and Fire community right now.
I'm living, baby. You got 2 shows this year. 2 shows.
Yeah, Game of Thrones had, it felt like hit a low point at one point, and Star Wars was up, and now everything's flipped.
That's right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Are they still making that spin-off where like they what's their name? Is it like Discover America? What was the plan? Wasn't it like they're going to go to like
Arya
going more west to like the unknown land? So like, they're just going to find America. That's the.
That would be funny.
They're going to the New World. I mean, if it's the west of England, and they're going to find the New World.
She finds the Statue of Liberty.
I imagine that's what the pitch was.
She finds the Statue of Liberty halfway buried. You maniacs!
Caesar's there.
You can do anything. They've never established what's over there at all. We don't know if there's anything there. No one's ever come back. The world is wide open.
Maybe she'll find the frog people.
Oh my god.
Maybe they're there.
That's Arya finding like my heart just leapt. I'm not even joking when you said she finds the frog people. I was like, oh my god, I hope she finds the frog people.
That is the beauty of the 𝘋𝘢𝘷𝘰.
Yes.
That when they show up, your heart leaps out.
Well, the insane thing is that after a couple of mergers, the frog people will just be Amani. When enough mergers happen,
oh man,
it's all one big Fortnite IP, and it's all connected.
Yes. But until then, you'll have to enjoy your Game of Thrones and your Star Wars separately. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word about Andorks. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/AndorksPod, where for just 5 credits a month, you'll get our full Andorks detours and every episode of the main feed 1 month early. You can follow Andorks on social media at AndorksPod. Send in your questions about the show to andorkspod@gmail.com. Special thanks to our partisans, Shelby Von Trapp and Bobby Chudhuri, who helped make the show possible. And we will see you next week for a special Andorks detour to watch the Bresson prison escape film A Man Escaped. So look forward to that. Later, dorks.
A man amount escapes.
A man escapes.
Bye, dorks.
Awesome.